Welcome to today's session on bin tracking and inventory control. My name's Steve, and with me I have Anne, who will be running through the detail with you. First of all, a high-level look at bin tracking. Do you need it? Do you need to track individual items against multiple bins within a Sage 300 inventory control location? How does it impact your customers when you can't locate an item to fulfill their order because you've lost track of exactly where all your inventory is? Rather than having to purchase, learn, maintain, and reconcile a separate warehouse management system just to track multiple bins, wouldn't you like to do this from within Sage 300 while also supporting the use of handheld barcode scanners? Bin tracking lets you track inventory across multiple bins within Sage 300. It increases warehouse efficiency, so warehouse staff know exactly where to store and find any item. You've got configurable items for optimizing pick and put away. All movements are tracked by bin transfer documents, and you've got support for handheld scanning devices through integration with other third-party modules. All your bin information is stored in Sage 300, so there's no need for a separate warehouse management system just to track multiple bins, and there's no need to reconcile multiple databases. There are other business benefits as well, and these include faster turnaround, which means reduced handling costs, more accurate inventory records, which means fewer items lost or misplaced, and happier customers through faster shipping and fewer rejected orders. Now let's have a closer look at bin tracking, and I'll pass you over to Anne.
Thanks, Steve. In this video, I'm going to run through how you can improve efficiency of inventory operations. We're going to take a look at the new stock take default. We're going to look at logging and approvals using Extender with bin tracking, and we're going to take a look at collaboration with bin tracking using Teamwork. But just before we do, I'm just going to call out some of the existing resources that we have for bin tracking. So in the online help, we do have a training and quick start video. We have videos showing you how to do bin tracking transactions, for example, stock take procedures, and how bin tracking works with the core OE, PO, IC modules. And we also have some videos showing the integration with bin tracking with other modules. For example, AutoSimply's barcode operations for all the stock movements in and out of an IC location, AutoSimply manufacturing for stock issuances, assemblies, disassemblies, RMA for the stock movements to do with the credit notes and purchase returns created by RMA, Technisoft Service Manager, and PJC. To access these videos, you can go to the online help, and the videos are inserted in context. So on the main page, we have the bin tracking training video and the bin tracking quick start video. Regarding using bin tracking with other modules, we have the quick tip video for integration with PJC, the integration with AutoSimply's barcode operations for all the picking and put away using the handhelds, integration with Technisoft Service Manager, and integration with bin tracking and Orchid's RMA. And regarding the stock takes, if you go to the physical inventory topic in the help, we have a video on how to do the stock takes. And finally, when you first get going with bin tracking, after going through the setup, you can review the video and help topic on how to get the opening stock balances into bin tracking, depending on whether you start bin tracking at the same time as IC starts, or if you are taking on existing IC quantities into the associated bins. And now we're going to have a look at the new default which is applied to stock takes when you're posting stock takes. In bin tracking, if you want a stock take by a range of bins or for a location and a range of bins, then you can start the stock take from within bin tracking using the bin tracking generate bin inventory worksheet. So this will create a bin inventory count which is not associated with IC because the counts have come from within bin tracking. So it may not be the entire location, it could just be the range of bins that you have created for. So you would come and adjust the count based on what you count, and then you would come to post the bin reconciliation. So if we go just to post the bin reconciliation for location 1, you can see you have two options. One, you must adjust the IC quantities with the same adjustment that you have made in bin tracking. So that would be if you have not counted the entire IC location, if you had just counted a certain range of bins. So if you wrote down an item or up an item, you would want to do the same thing with respect to the IC location details. So the stock adjustment that gets created will adjust IC up or down by the same quantities that you adjusted in your bin tracking worksheet. Or if you did count all the bins within the location, you could adjust the IC quantities by the sum total by item, by location of the quantities in the remaining bin transfer worksheet. And now you can set, if you typically use one or other of these options, you can set the default in bin tracking. So you can say that for your stock take, you typically want to adjust the quantities by the same adjustments that you've made in bin tracking, or you could set it to force IC to match the bin quantities in IC. And by being able to save the default for this particular option, the users don't have to select it each time they post a stock take which started in bin tracking. We are now going to have a look at logging and approvals with Extender working in conjunction with bin tracking. First, we're going to go through logging the bin tracking options and document changes using Extender. Using Extender events, we can create events to log changes, to run a program, to send an email, or to create an information manager note. For our log changes, we have the option whether you want to combine the changes into one log record or don't combine, so you'd end up with one log record per field that changes. So we're going to work with the log event, which does not combine the changes, and the log combine event, which will combine all the changes if multiple changes happen at once into one particular record. And then we would go and attach these events to the appropriate views. So for our bin tracking options view, we have attached the log event to the allow incomplete bin transfers to be completed when there is a source document and when there is not a source document. And we also have attached the log event to the stock take method. So if anyone changes these, we're logging who changes them on which date and time. Having a look at this, logged in as Anne, if I go to the bin tracking options and change the allow incomplete bin transfers to be completed when there's no source document to yes, and where is a source document to yes or to on. And we'll also change the stock take options. And all the logging is done in the Extender log, and we can see that Anne has changed the bin transfer options, the stock take method from 2 to 1, the allow incomplete bin transfers when there's no source document to warn, and allow incomplete bin transfers when there is a source document to yes. The other event we're going to have a look at is the event attached to the bin tracking documents. So on the bin transfer header, we are using log combine to track who creates the bin transfer document, and then whenever the status is changed from not ready to pick to ready to pick to in progress to complete, we're logging who does that change. And the purpose of this is to track who changes the status as the bin transfer goes through the different stages, because on the bin transfer document itself, all you have is the last date and time that the bin transfer was updated. So still logged in as Anne. If I go ahead and create a bin transfer, which is bin to bin, and we're going to move the A11030 from A010101 in location 1 to location 2, bin B010101. And as normal, when bin tracking recognizes it's fully picked and put away, it offers to complete the document, but I'll set it in progress. And then, signed in as Emma, if we go back to that bin transfer document, we can see that Anne last updated it. But if Emma was to check and complete this, in the audit trail, we'd see Anne inserted and updated it, and then Emma changed the status to complete. So back in the extender log, we see that Anne inserted the document and then changed the status to 3 in progress, and Emma changed the status from 3 to 4, which is complete. So logging the status field on bin transfer documents gives you more of the progress of the bin transfer document rather than who last updated it only. The next example of extender working with bin tracking we're going to run through is using the workflow rules to approve or notify bin transfer documents being created. In our example, we're going to have an approval workflow whereby approval will set the status of the bin transfer document to complete. Using the workflow rules, you can have multi-level of approvals up to 5 levels, and it's all configurable. You do not need to change the workflow template to achieve this. So you could have different approvers depending on the location where the bin transfer has been created for, the status of the bin transfer document. It's up to you. But in our case, we're going to have a bin transfer approval for any bin transfers that are not associated with the source document in IC, OE, or PO. So these are only for bin transfers where we're going to do a bin-to-bin transfer and there's no associated IC, OE, PO transaction. In this company, we have imported the bin tracking module, which consists of one workflow template, which is to approve a bin transfer document, and the approval sets the status to complete. The workflow is attached to the event insert. So when a bin transfer document is started, the workflow will be triggered automatically. And then you can use the configurable rules to determine which bin transfers need approving by which people. So in the rules, we have set that the bin transfers, only bin-to-bin transfers need approval. So where the source document is none, there's no source document in IC, OE, or PO. So in this particular case, how do we know which are bin-to-bin transfers? It's where the source type is 0. So we can choose any field or fields on the bin transfer header, bin transfer header optional fields, or on the first bin transfer detail row to say how these records get selected and who approves them. So in our case, where the source type is equal to 0, so these are bin-to-bin transfers, no IC, OE, or PO source document, first Anne needs to approve them, and then Natalie needs to approve them. So logged in as Emma, we're going to create a bin transfer document where the source type is none. So from location 1, bin A 010101, we're going to pick 10 and put it away to location 1 and put away 10. And we're also going to pick a second item. From location 1, 20 of these, and put it away to bin A 010101. So when this bin transfer is first created, the workflow template kicks in and checks to see if this particular bin transfer type needs to be approved and has determined that Anne needs to approve the bin transfer. So Anne would be notified by email that there's a bin transfer document waiting for her approval. So logged in as Anne on the workflow console, we can see that Emma has created this bin transfer document and it's waiting for Anne to approve. So Anne could drill down and check the document, and assuming all is okay, can go ahead and approve. And you can see it drops off Anne's console. But because Anne has view all rights, we can see that that bin transfer is now waiting for Natalie to approve. So now logged in as Natalie on her workflow console, she can see that Emma created the document and it's now waiting for her to approve. If she goes ahead to look at the history, she can see that Emma created the document and then Anne approved it, and Anne's approval comment was okay. And now, assuming that Natalie too is happy with this, she could go ahead and approve. And now that has dropped off the console for everyone, as it is now fully approved. And if we go back and look at that bin transfer document, we can see it's now completed. So it's the workflow that completed this document. And in the extender inquiries, we can see that Emma started the workflow, Anne approved, and the values at that time, and then Natalie approved, and the values at that time. You can also use the workflow rules to configure the approval around any ICOE or PO transaction before the bin transfer is created. And when the source document is approved, it is posted by the workflow. And then based on the bin tracking configuration, the bin transfer document will be created automatically. So we still have multi-level approvals up to 5 levels for each of the rules and an unlimited number of rules. And the different approvers can be assigned based on the configurable rules. You can also configure whether you want email alerts when the workflow records are created and approved, and or if you want AC chat integration. So the example we're going to look at is doing an IC stock transfer on the desktop and using the AC chat integration to communicate with the handheld users, and the approval will be done through AC chat. First, we'll look at the rules for the stock transfers. So our particular configuration, we've said if the stock transfer is a consignment stock transfer, then we will have Terence approving, and all other stock transfers Anne approves. So how do we know which are the consignment stock transfers? It's where the transfer details to location equals cons. So when the transfer to location details is cons, Terence needs to approve. And we could have any number of conditions based on the transfer details, the transfer header, or the transfer header optional fields. And if the transfer to location is not cons, all other records will be approved by Anne. And for the workflow, we have turned on the AC chat message option. We're not sending emails. And when the transfer is approved during the workflow, it will be auto-posted. So those are the configurable options you have for the workflow template using the workflow rules. Signed in as Natalie, we're going to create a stock transfer. So we're going to transfer 2 items from location 1 to the consignment location. And when the document is saved, the message is given that approval is required for the consignment stock transfers and Terence is the approver. And the AC chat message has been created accordingly. So Natalie requests approval and it's been assigned to Terence. And signed into the AC chat app as Terence, we see that the AC chat message has been created for transfer number 9. And Terence can see the details. So if Terence may ask some questions about this. Or if appropriate, attach documents and questions. And back on the desktop, these responses are seen. After receiving the details that he needs, Terence could go ahead and approve. And in refreshing this document, you can see transfer 9 is now posted, and we have the full communication both in AC Chat in the app, but also available for seeing from the Sage 300 desktop. And finally, we're going to have a look at creating an IC transaction using AC Chat and using the configurable workflow rules to approve and post the source document. And then, because of the bin tracking configuration, the bin transfer document will be automatically created and then can be completed once the transaction has been picked or put away. And we're going to have a look at IC internal usage documents. Before we go ahead and create the transaction, we'll first look at the workflow rules which have been set for IC internal usage documents. So in this instance, the rules for approving internal usage documents is based on the user who creates the initial document. So if the employee who created the document was Natalie, then Anne and Terence have to approve. If the employee who created the document is Wallace, then Steve approves. If the employee creating the document is Emma, no approval is required. And for all other users, Wallace approves. And we are going to enter the internal usage document as Anne, and then Wallace will approve the document. So logged into the AC Chat app as Anne, she can create an internal usage. And it defaults to a quantity of 1. So it's created internal usage number 13 successfully. And in the back office, Natalie can see that the internal usage has been created successfully. If Wallace was using the desktop, he could improve the internal usage using the Sage 300 desktop or through AC Chat or on his phone if he was not in the office. So logging in as Wallace, Wallace sees internal usage number 13, and it is waiting for him to approve. As always, he can collaborate and as well as seeing these messages in the handheld devices, you will be able to see them in the back-end office as well. So when Wallace approves this internal usage document, the document will be posted. The chat message is updated accordingly, which is refreshed on the desktop. And based on our configurable rules where we requested approved documents to be posted, the document has been posted. And based on the bin tracking rules, the internal usage document has been created. And the bins auto-assigned based on the picking rules defined for bin transfers. So this can be completed here when the pick is confirmed. And that concludes the 4 different examples that I'm going to show you of using bin tracking with Extender and Teamwork. Some useful bin tracking resources are the online help, which you can access through the website or through the link from the CHM file which is installed with the products. So if you go to our website and in the resources online help, you can go to the bin tracking help. And this is, as I showed you earlier, it has all the videos embedded in the appropriate places. We also have a knowledge base, which is also accessed from our website, but you need to log into our website to get access to the knowledge base. So once you've logged in, if you go to the knowledge base, you can then select bin tracking. And as you can see, we have a lot of support articles all grouped together, either general bin tracking support, stock take tips, and so on. But a reminder that you need to log into our website to get at the knowledge base. This is not open for customers, but the online help is open for customers. On our website, we also have a frequently asked question for bin tracking. For example, does bin tracking integrate with AutoSimply, and so on? How can you view the item quantity in the bins? What are the steps to take in a stock take? So if you have some general sales questions or overall questions, have a look at the frequently asked questions page. And more generally, Orchid resources on our website. Once you log in as a partner, you can access the product downloads, including our sample data. In the marketing material, we have our sales PowerPoint presentation. And again, you can access the online help as I've shown you. And if you have any queries regarding working with Orchid, we have a frequently asked questions, which relates to how to order a product, how to get your activation codes for your customers, and so on. And now we're going to open the webinar for a Q&A.